Alive.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. My name is Lucia Dragos, and I'm here with Eve Voyevoda. Tell me if I mispronounce your name. Um,
You always pronouncing my surname right. So,
Perfect. So we'll be talking about the situation in Ukraine and how she left Ukraine. She's now in Poland, Krakow, right?
yeah.
Correct. And so if you have any questions, you can post them. Let me see comments. Okay, you can post them and she'll be able to respond. But she'll share her story and then some resources or places that you can go to and get help if she knows currently in Poland and in Ukraine. So let's get started. Eve, thank you so much for making the time. I know this is super stressful time for you and I really appreciate it.
For all of us, I would say.
So the first thing, can you share your story and a little before that? Because from the outside, it seemed everything happened so sudden. And I wonder if from inside was the same. Like, did you ever had a sense like something like that might happen to prepare?
Well, it's yes and no, because the interesting part is uh, Russia invaded Ukraine in 2014. So we basically were in a state of war for over many years, and we knew about that. However, and also we were prepared by American newspapers and everything. We still didn't believe till the last moment, many of us, because many shared this kind of feeling that it's like a nightmare, and everybody wanted to wake up because nobody expects that this traitorous things can happen, especially considering that they're killing children and women and innocent people. Nobody expects such cruelty because it's so unhumane that I think we, to the last moment, believe that Russians are quite human, and I think they prove it's otherwise at the moment.
And so, few days before that, you didn't expect any of that to happen. Like, you
I
didn't
mean, we were
prepare.
told that this will happen, this will happen. There were many like opinions, like on
Yeah.
newspapers, on TVs, and we listened all the analytics like on a daily basis, like non-stop, because we wanted to understand for ourselves. And many men who were brave enough and understood the situation, they took responsibility for the women, and they like women and kids, and they actually left the country before, but many people were like, okay, when it will happen, we will do it. Like they took it like this dress responsibility. Like not all the men were so responsible. Not all the women believed that it would happen because, of course, it's a financial thing. It's like, okay, if war will not start and I will waste all my money to go in Europe, it's a costly trade. So many people just didn't have these resources, and they were hoping until the last moment that nothing would happen.
And so the first day when this happened, were you able to hear? Did you hear from the TV? Because you're from Kiev, so um,
Yes.
did it happen close to your home?
It's pretty close to my home. In fact, from my window, I see the direction of Gostomel Airport. I see the direction of Irpin, which they destroyed completely right now. And those were beautiful areas. And like, especially Bucha, Irpin, and all the cities which they completely destroyed right now. Those were like very clean, lovely suburbs of Kiev. They're not really in Kiev, like it's different cities, but like very close. I once reached Irpin by walk from Kiev, so it's very, very close. And they were really, really beautiful, nice, calm places in the woods. So many people actually moved from Kiev to Irpin and Bucha because they had a cleaner air, and it was a nice place to stay with kids. There were plenty of kids, and basically these areas were like it had more family community rather than Kiev, where you have like more working women and men. So it's really heartbreaking what they did to these little cities. And the fact that from my window, I literally see that direction. and I'm living in Kiev on the ninth floor. So I could see the smoke and everything from my window when they were attempting to take the Gostomel airport. It was really scary. And but I can say that I was, I mean, I had a very stressful life as a businesswoman. So in that specific night, I actually had like a sleeping pills. I wanted to sleep very well, and I actually slept over the war. So yeah.
And
So
that happened
I
at
woke
night.
up. Yeah, it happened at 5 a.m. So they started this war in a very treachery way, like from the books, about Second World War when Hitler attacked Ukraine. Basically, it started in Kiev, 2022, 22nd of June. So 22 is kind of interesting thing. So we always heard this from the books that, German was so treachery that in Second World War, they started it at 4 a.m. And Putin, who is absolutely like Hitler, he started it about the same time. So pretty much it's like deja vu for many people.
Mm.
But I slept it over, so I didn't know.
And so your parents, were they with you at that time, or they live in a separate place?
We live in a separate places, and in fact, I was so hoping that it would never happen by that time that I started fixing in my house. So for 3 weeks before, actually, my house was literally like almost destroyed inside because I put tiles in my bathroom and stuff like this. So I believed that everything would be very much fine because I purchased all the stuff and wanted to live in a good, better place.
And so when you when you woke up and you realize what's happening, did you think that is just okay, maybe it will pass quickly, I'm not going to evacuate, or immediately you wanted to evacuate?
First of all, I wanted to evacuate first before all this happened, like a week before. And I was talking to friends of mine who would be able to help, and no one could. People were busy and stuff like this. They were like, it will pass. They didn't care much. So I didn't have like maybe courage or maybe like you see, I was making fixing in my house, and I mean, so I was busy. So basically, I didn't evacuate myself. But the first day, all the road in front of my house, was like facing west, it was absolutely crowded with all the cars because people were trying to evacuate like in the first day. And I think by that time we were already surprised. Many of us thought that it will pass soon. And we didn't laugh over them, but it was strange because
Mhm.
nobody thought by the time that they would actually heavily attack Kiev. What we thought, they would probably like try to take more part of the Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast, where they actually tried to do all the work since 2014. So we were like, okay, maybe that would happen, maybe that would happen. So we had many scenarios, and very few people believed by the time that they would actually attack Kiev.
So when he announced that the day before the invasion,
Hmm.
right? Putin announced the Donetsk and Lugansk as independent state. So
Yes,
probably people at that time, a light bulb went, okay, probably something is going to happen. Or because
that
I
we
saw it, I
expected.
didn't think, yeah.
We expected that they will do it, but we still were expecting that there will be a lot of diplomacy and stuff like that, because we were still thinking that Putin is not insane and he's bargaining with US, because this war is still more about like US relationship with Russia. It's not really about Ukraine. Ukraine is democratic, peaceful country. It's never attack anyone. Unlike Russia, which started wars in Georgia, in Chechnya, in Syria, they bombed them. So they're like constantly in war, like for all these 30 years since the Soviet Union crash. Ukraine was always rebuilding the economy. It's a peaceful agricultural country who is focusing on IT technologies. Like, we were quite advanced in many ways. I'm seeing right now banks here in Europe, and I'm like missing Ukraine. They were more advanced. So to be honest, it's really I don't know. There was no reason to attack peaceful country, like zero reason at all.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, I can't imagine what you went through. It just every time I think about and yeah, I mean, I don't think people that haven't lived through war can imagine, and that's
You
um,
know, I never thought I would actually react on the sound of the plane. I mean, because very quickly, like within 2 days or something, you start understanding that this is your plane flying, this is a rocket flying over your house, this is a plane actually going to hit that rocket, and this rocket blasts in a very specific sound. And it's like, okay, the rocket will not destroy anything because our planes are working very well. You understand artillery in terms of sound, and you're like, okay, this is our artillery, this is their artillery. So you start learning sounds in so many ways. For the first 3 days, we were like ignoring the sound of sirens because, like, sirens start talking about the attack on planes or something. So we were like ignoring them. We were like, okay,
really. So you didn't go
yeah,
to the bunker? I mean,
not
to
at
the
all. I was on the ninth floor with the big windows. I mean, anytime the siren happened, I was looking outside and waiting for things to happen on my horizon. So I was talking to my parents, and I was like, I'm going to be a collateral damage. I'm going to sit all the war in front of my window and like wait till things will happen. But then my parents were very worried. They live in not very far from me, like a few streets from me, really. And they were like, oh, let us go in like bomb shelter and things like this. They have the house, a bigger basement in there. So, I mean, and I was like, okay, I will not make my parents worry. And that was 26th of February. And 26th of February, it was a time when the tanks were like first tanks were caught near my house, literally, and 23 of the spies of Russia, I think they were like removed. And basically around my house, a few shops destroyed, huge holes from the bullets and things like this. There was a first huge battle right in front of my house. In fact, in a few days, we found a little metal piece of the shrapnel from the things on my balcony on the fifth floor. So it's like one of the first big battles happened right near our house. It's 3 a.m., 26th of February. And that after that, you like don't want to go out from the bomb shelter anymore much because you like now you take this silence seriously because it's like not good.
and didn't you think to evacuate at that time? Probably the
It
city
was
was kind
difficult
of
to
empty.
evacuate. It was difficult to evacuate. First of all, every single car was packed with people. And for the first 3 days, there were huge problems with gasoline and everything. So basically,
Mhm.
people who had cars many times couldn't leave because they would just not have enough petrol. So, and I asked many people with cars, and they were like, I can go as far as like point that, but after that, I just will stop, and that's probably more dangerous than to stay in this bomb shelter, which is logical, right? So if you don't have extra gasoline, so many people stayed because they didn't have gasoline. Many people couldn't take people because they had gasoline, but they didn't have places in cars. So
Mm.
literally, you have grandmother, kids, and everybody. Like, I mean, all cars were packed. I asked about that as well. Nobody took me. So I was looking for ways. I had a dress in Western Ukraine for my parents, so I like wanted to create a safe travel for all of us. My parents like didn't want to leave, and like I was asking, they didn't want to leave. And I understand they're adult people; they take their own decisions. I mean, I can't grab them and bring them where they don't want to go. And like for elder people, it's more comfortable to stay in their house, and they are well taken care of. They're healthy. They have food, everything. I'm sending them money, so everything is fine. They're not like need
So let
some
me ask, like, when you say you're sending money, like now everything is closed. How are people able to provide for themselves, right? Like the banks, nothing
well,
works.
banks are not working, but shops are working. And
Okay.
as I told you, Ukraine is a digitalized country, so we can pay for the flats through our app, through the bank app. So banks working through app. You can't pay, for example, with your card in the shop, so you have to have cash, and that's a problem
Hmm.
but you can pay for many other things through the apps
Got it.
and through bank apps. And this is I'm sending money to my mom for card,
Okay.
basically. Yeah.
And they decided to stay because is their country from more that kind of sentimental reasons, or just because they just don't want to travel and make the trip and
My parents are like above 70. So in this age, you're really attached to so many things. They're like, we can't leave it. We would prefer to stay. So they have a
Mhm.
sentimental reasons. They don't want to travel as well. And they believe, my father is very optimistic. They both believe in our army because we are really strong army and our men are just phenomenal and girls also in army because they really doing like phenomenal job. And also the defense because everybody in Ukraine finds in this evil sources, sorcerers, and all that kind of thing. It really looked like Lord of the Rings. We are Gondor,
Mhm.
and that dark forces and orcs are quite crappy.
Okay, let's go back. So you couldn't find a car to leave. So what did you do?
I couldn't find a car to live. My parents didn't want to live, and basically every single night something was happening, like here and there. Now we could hear the sounds of our aircraft closer, 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 and then there was a commandant hour, like we couldn't leave houses for 48 hours. So that's why I spent 4 nights in a bomb shelter because the 2 days basically I had to stay there, and I mean there was no way out. So I was pretty much ready to move, and there were a lot of things like I could see that my skills they're useless there because I'm going to be 45. We're talking about war. That's no longer a secret. So I'm going to be 45 this year, right? And I'm too old to run with with the gun around the street and all the things. So I thought that it's probably not the best idea for me to go to the defense because I'm not the healthiest, not the youngest, and things like that. But I know English. I can share my story. I can communicate with people in Europe and I can explain them how to help people because they really want to help. And many times the language is a strong barrier. So
Hmm.
I tried it a little bit in bomb shelter. I realized that I can do many things with my writing. And I realized that also in certain circumstances, if we like not really lucky, then potentially people who write in this style might be like in danger. And also, this writing can endanger my family in a bad scenario, right? So, thinking about that, I was like, okay, I can write it from some other place. Also, because I work with fear and I help women entrepreneurs with confidence and with understanding how they can, show up fearlessly and be visible and all this kind of things. I learned so much from this experience in regard of my business. So I was like in bomb shelter. I was like, okay, let me help people with the fears. I was talking about the breathing techniques and things like that. Nobody listened because everybody were in such a stress and people like okay everybody's like families elder younger people these relationships everybody who are younger like than 80 they're all kids for part of generation. So it was like I understood that I am not heard, I can't help anyone with my skills because nobody listens, and I can help way more with that what I know, but just like having proper internet, having comfort, because at 6 nights I barely slept, and
Hmm.
honestly, I'm not capable to think when I don't sleep, which I think pretty normal for human beings.
It's yes,
So
absolutely.
yeah, and I mean, we had enough food, but you don't feel like eating. So pretty much, I was eating once a day. I didn't sleep. On the 6th day, I was feeling like, okay, one day more, and I will not be able to write or speak English at all because my brain will like say no to everything. And I made already attempts. I asked my parents, I'm like, please let me go and sleep in home because I can't sleep. Like, you have many people in bomb shelters. So you have to sleep like with a group of unknown people, some of them snoring, some of them like, waking up at 6 a.m., some of them sleeping at 3 a.m. So, and I'm very sensitive, so I sleep like 3 hours until people who sleep at three finally sleep, and people who like wake up at 6, they up like 3 hours after. So it was really difficult, not emotionally for me, because I'm quite familiar with how to handle stress and things like that. So that was very useful, by the way, all the techniques which I choose. And I'm like, oh my God, that works. Wow. But, it was really difficult resource wise. So I could see that my resources are like, I'm exhausting my resources. Therefore, I decided to do something and leave. So because I was alone, nobody was supporting me at all in this trip. Like I had like just my money and 2 bags. And in fact, I packed a very big bag, and I realized that I will not be able to travel because I thought that at least some taxi would work or something. And nothing like that was available. So there was only metro, which was working on a very small part of the city. Luckily, I'm not very far from that station, which works. So I had to walk quite a long distance, like it's a 15 minutes walk with 2 bags. And obviously, I have my computer and things, we are
Yeah.
all technical people. So one computer is already heavy enough. Now you need to have something else as well. So when I reached metro, I was like, okay, this is the first step. So basically, my plan was I'm like, I'm moving west and I'm taking one step at a time every single hour because my resources are so limited. I have to be so focused that I have to live and achieve my goal as fast as it's possible because my resources will like will be ending very, very soon. So it was very challenging because first of all, when I step out, I didn't go to see what happened with the tank battle, which I mentioned before. And this is a place where I was born. So just to understand, this is very dear area to me. It's not like I get in Kiev. I was born in Kiev. I was born in this specific house. I was living there like until I was 18. So I know this area very, very well. So when I was with my bags and I was walking through this Prospect Pobyeды, this is like one of the biggest streets, which is moved from west to east, and it's a big area. And I could see this, like, the tanks burned and all the things, there's this against tanks construction. It was, it's really scary, it's surreal because you feel like you're in some stupid game, or some film about war. It doesn't feel like it's real because you have, all that war kind of preparation and things. And it's like, it feels like, your childhood was raped because, things which you knew, they're no longer like that and they will never be like that, So
Mm.
it's really painful emotionally. So I was walking through very difficult visuals, I would say, 15 minutes of very difficult visuals. And though in Ukraine, people, very little people would do some mortgages or something like, the bad things like stealing from broken cars and stuff. There's still many people who come from different regions, not necessarily Ukrainians, because I saw one person was like robbed the car and people
Oh,
kicked him out. So they're like, it's not your car, get out from there. I could see that he's not Ukrainian, but I mean, he was really strange. He literally looked like orc. I was like, he probably not a human. It was really weird. So it's not common because many people who are from different regions, they also mentioned that like, this kiosk is like broken. Anybody could take anything from it, but nobody does because it's
hmm.
not in our culture. We just
Yes.
don't do it. In a time of Maidan, there was the same situation. Like, many screens were broken, many shops were like had open doors or broken doors. Nobody took anything because in our culture, like we respect property. We're like democratic country, as I said, like initially high developed country in a way. So, and like emotionally and value wise. So going through it, it was really difficult because I think it's a value war. It's like who we stand for, what we stand for. It's questioning like all Europe, to be honest, what we stand for. Because we can speak about democracy like, until the end of our life. But if you're really not following it, then
Yes.
it's just there. So that's the thing. Many people were talking about freedom, liberty, democracy, blah, blah, blah. But when it's come to fight for that, they were like, whatever. What were I talking? They quickly forgot about that. And I also hear from many people how Ukrainians are inspiring because they are fighting for real values. They are fighting for families. They are fighting for their land. And it's really inspiring and powerful, which is true. It's like really we are on the light side. And everybody who fighting on our side, they are on a light side for sure. So
Yeah.
it's powerful when you go through this terror, which was created by Russians, by these orcs, literally, the distractions. You see where you are. Like you don't. I mean, it is for me. I mean, you don't choose sides. You know where you are, on which side you are. So it's really important. It's it's a big insight. So I reached Metro. Yeah, get back to the story. I reached
And at that
Metro.
time, the phones were working. You were able to call your parents and tell them that you're leaving.
My mom was with me when I was packing things, so I asked her to come with me because, in fact, I had a lot of food in my fridge and things like this. So I was like, please come and rob my fridge anytime, you know. So you have a lot of supplies. So I was sharing with mom how she can like take whatever she needs because it's important. And so we say goodbye. And when I reached a railway, there were so many people. I mean, because it was like the main way to leave. And I again I was seeing like the idea that I have to move without distraction. I'm alone. I don't have like this physical resource. I could strongly feel at that moment, how women are very fragile because running the steps with two bags, it's just simply physically heavy exercise. And it's like I have bare minimum with me. It's not like I have big bags or fancy
Yeah.
something. It's literally I took a bag which has wheels because it's more comfortable to walk with it. At least it's made for airports, not for such things.
Yeah.
But whatever. I mean, I could understand that if I will be tired, at least I will be able to like use
Yeah.
it like in a different way. Also, it's like a mix of the bag. I can use it on my shoulders. I can use it on wheels. So it's practical thing. And
Mhm.
another is computer bag, two bags, right? It's physically difficult to run on the stairs and to run on the place where the train comes and then the next train comes and you're actually running and you have two bags in hand. It's physically just difficult for a woman.
And
And
probably at
nobody
that
helps.
time you were scared that if they attack again or they bombard.
Interestingly, none of us cared because at that beginning we all were in I think, adrenaline kind of shock. It's like first you usually go through euphoria, then you lose the energy, you go like, to some sadness and depression. This is a hormonal thing which works in any human being in such stressful situations. So at that time, none of us were like scared. We were like immune to fear at all. And
Mhm.
what I was just thinking about, I was very, very focused. I usually not. So usually I think about everything. And at that specific moment, I was like, okay, what I need to do next, I need to catch up the train. This is my goal. This is where I go. I passed through all the coaching things, like, setting up the goals, achieving the goals, making, I mean, like this whole thing, like, you
It's
remember
like a
this
video game with the
American
level.
saying, American saying when they say like it's American Army saying that they say that you will be in a time of battle you will be prepared on the lowest level which you show on the training. So like you really need to work hard when you prepare yourself because
Yes.
you will be like on a lowest level. So I was totally in that training mode. So I was like, okay, I'm setting up the goal. I need to take a train which goes west. Simple. Any train. So
And
by
you
that
didn't know
time,
at that time you're going to Poland. Uh, no,
I was
just
I
west.
was like literally, this is my like visual area. This is my focus. I'm going step by step. So I achieved metro first. I achieved railway second. Right now I'm a railway. What my next step is literally game like thing.
In the
So
railway, in the train probably was packed, and like you're not buying tickets, you just go in the
you
train
have
and
people who getting in, right? It's like really like a lot of people who trying to leave. And there were many trains where they just take kids and women only. I mean, men are not allowed, and many times just kids who can be evacuated. So first I reached the train which was on Chernivtsi because I had an address in Chernivtsi where I could go and stay. And as I said, I was exhausted, so I was like, okay, I really need to had one step in the Western Ukraine somewhere and sleep. So I
right.
just needed to have a sleep, simple, not eating, nothing else, just like 2 days of just simple sleeping. So that was my main goal. Like long-term goal was to sleep, and short-term goal was to catch up the train. Now I quickly figured out that whether you have ticket, whether you not have ticket, is really not important because people with ticket or without ticket were in equal situation. So as I figured it out on that first train, which I missed completely, and I was like, okay, so I could see that some people are moving slower, some moving faster, some people who are alone. I had a preference because I was alone, and I could move faster. So I mean, again, I can judge my resources and strengths. So it was business trip in a worst kind of way. I was like, okay, the next train comes. I'm like, I hope I don't even know geographically where it goes. I was not sure if it goes in the right direction. I kind of remember that it seems yes. So I was like, whatever, I'm catching it. I catching something. So I get in the next area, and then the magical things happen after that because I'm like a magical person, very spiritual, I guess, and that's why the universe did everything for me.
Yes.
Because I mean, just to say for the viewers, I stayed before 9 years in India where I was creative director. So India is my sign. So when I moved on that Peron, I realized two things. Thing number one, don't go to the first uh, wagon because basically the one which is close to the stairs, everybody will go there. So
Right.
do it a little bit more, like make a few steps ahead. So I did that. And that moment I was very lucky because students from India were evacuating, and students from India have phenomenal skills in terms of acting like bees or ants, like they have that group mentality. It's like phenomenal national quality. And I saw it in India for so many times. So my goal was to not goal. I like intuitively could feel that I could be that wasp who ants put in the ant house. And I just quickly just jump into that crowd and I start talking with them in Hindi and somehow I make you I'm a right wasp. So they put me in a train together with them. And
Oh
they're
wow.
also very powerful and strong, so nobody would take them out because they're like, so it was actually like just an occasion which I was lucky. And I had a few words with them. They were like, yeah, yeah, I mean, ma'am, you talk Hindi. I'm like, Torah, Torah. So, it was fine. And then I was even more lucky because the guy who get before me, he was from Lviv. He actually had a ticket.
Oh,
So, and he was not allowed in his own compartment. So he was kicked out from that place because there were already 12 people inside. So that lady who is like responsible for the trip, she actually, and we start talking with this guy before that all happened. So when we moved, that lady who is like responsible for that, she found him their compartment where there were lesser people. And I was like, can I also go? Can I also go? And again, I was lucky again. So I actually had a proper place to sit and like overnight, I realized that this train goes to Lviv.
hmm.
And I had in mind that Lviv is a good place to stay. This is a good area where I can take a bus or a train to go to the board. So I reached Lviv. It's around 4 a.m. I slept like 1 hour or something. So I mean 6 hours, 6 days of non-sleeping, and this one is like totally non-sleeping. And 4 a.m. I was on the railway, and there was that commandant hour, so nobody was allowed to go out. And outside it was really, really cold. I kind of expected that I will go straight forward to Europe, and my plan changed. And I realized that I don't have enough clothing for this cold weather. It's like minus to like 0. I mean, it's Celsius, not Fahrenheit. So, but still, uh, and at 6 a.m., my booking failed. I booked their hotel, and at 6 a.m., I figured out that they couldn't book anything because the Lviv was packed with people. There was no place to stay. The booking thing, the booking site, we had a conversation. They like, there is no place. They can give you a hostel, and I'm like, I don't want hostel. I need a place to sleep. I will not sleep in hostel. So it's like hostel doesn't solve my problem. So instead of doing that, I was again, the logic is like we always move. If we have a problem, we need to move fast. We need to act fast, and we're not supposed to give up and sit like and cry and stuff like this. It's just not resourceful enough. So I was moving, and I was literally like 6 a.m. I took my bag. I first moved to that hotel which I booked. Figured out that it's some kind of big villa sort of thing. I can't even get in. I was like, okay, is it time to give up or not? It's freezing. I have two bags. I'm in the middle of the city. I know no one. And I'm like, at this moment, I'm on a messenger with my Canadian friend who is like telling to every Canadian diaspora who is looking for people in Lviv for me to stay. So Canada is working for me, universe is working for me, and
Yes.
I'm freezingly cold. My hands are freezing, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? I don't know what to do, but I'm like, I'm not going to give up. I'm going, and I was just walking simply on the street. When I was finding hotels for booking, I went through several names, and that's several names of hotels. So I was like, okay, this should be this hotel, this hotel. I found first hotel from that list, which was Hotel Lviv in Lviv, which is, yeah, very original. So I realized it's not very far from that place. What I was looking for, I was looking for the hotels which have lobby where I can have coffee at this. And in Lviv, everything is open around 10 a.m. So it's 6 a.m. I'm already freezing. I mean, 4 hours. I'm not even sure I will be able to manage till the next coffee shop. So when I reached the hotel, it's an interesting lesson I got. When we come from a luck mentality, again, back to coaching, we never get what we want. And I get to the hotel with all this idea that booking company told me that there is no place, nothing is available. And I like believed in that. Like it's really a story from coaching. I get to the hotel, and I like, you don't have any place. I know. Can I please sit in your lobby at least a little bit and maybe wait for the queue so that maybe somebody will like release the room or something? She say like, yeah, you can sit like half an hour because until 8 a.m. I cannot give you answer on that. Basically, probably you will have some room after 12, but until 8 I can put you in the queue. So please take some time, like warm up, but not after that because security will not allow you to sit. I'm like, okay. I'm sitting in a lobby. It's much warmer than outside, and like it's already good. And I'm getting phenomenal help from the diaspora in Canada. Girls found me their address, and I already on a call with that woman. She's like, "Yeah, I'll totally take you. Everything is fine. Don't worry. Take a taxi. Blah blah." But I really don't want to like make anybody uncomfortable. Really, I mean, what I was looking is a hotel where I could sleep and like to not disturb anyone. So once I get this contact, I was no longer in luck mentality, and I already warmed up. So literally, that was 7:45. So it's 15 minutes development. At 8:04, I'm getting to the counter, and I'm like, "Do you have a room for me?" And she's like, oh, I actually have a room for you. Have a key.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's Abraham Hicks. You know?
The universe provided you with what you need.
because you are not in luck mentality, right?
Yeah.
It was so evident that I was like literally after that I was after Indians, after all the magical story of my trip, which was way less stressful than other people. Many people spent 4 days on the railway just to wait for the train. Many people were sleeping there, so I don't know how I did that. I just get into train and I get to Lviv and I got my number and I was like, wow, that works. I mean, I don't know what works, but it works. So I
When you
get to
say a
the room.
number, you had to
I
have
mean,
a
the room,
number.
the room, the room, the room. I mean,
Ah,
room,
okay.
not number. Sorry, that
Yeah,
English.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
So,
think that paralyzes the fight or flight mode in
yeah.
us. It triggers, and then some people get paralyzed, and you get
most of the
you
people
cannot
most
think.
of the
And
people are paralyzed, yes.
yeah,
And because I work with seers, to be honest, I mean, I had a little bit more advantage because I knew how my brain works. And the mindfulness, I'm quite mindful, understanding where your resources will be over is very important, because by that time I was like 95 resources gone, just like you almost see that score, like game over is very close. Because you'll not get on the next level unless you sleep. So once I got that room, I called that woman back and I was like, thank you so much. I mean, but I just got a room. Thank you so much. And she was like, oh, I'm so happy for you.
and
Uh, you know,
and that city, it's very far from Ukraine. How many kilometers I mean, Ukraine, Kiev. How many kilometers approximately?
uh, let's say I can say kilometers, but I can say that it starts at 4 p.m. and you can reach Lviv in normal circumstances around 2 a.m. So if you
Oh,
are
so it is far.
on the train. So it's far. It's closer to the western border, and it's one of the biggest cities on the western border. And
So there
luckily,
was
it
no
was not.
danger of attacking. Sorry to interrupt you. There was no
They
danger of.
had they had a lot of sirens, and see, it's an Asian city, very very beautiful. And it would be really pity if all these busters would ever attack it, because it's so beautiful. Like the statues everywhere. Like it's Asian city really. So they were very conscious about that. So first night I was sleeping well, and then it was like beautiful. I was photographing a lot of things just to memorize like peaceful life, because I sound like a person from. I mean, I realize the difference, because when I get out, and in Kiev you can't have a cash. ATMs are not working, banks are not working, nothing working. And I had only virtual cards. As I told you, we are a digital country. Everything is in my smartphone. I mean, I don't need plastic cards. Now with that ITM, I realize that without plastic cards, you can take cash from the different bank ATM, because they're not necessarily set for your bank. And I was like, and I don't have banks to actually get the card. So in Lviv, I had a few different extra goals. So like to set up certain things to use my bank account. So when I get out, I'm like, and do you have ATMs with cash? Are they still working? And they're like, everything is okay, relax. Banks are working, everything is working. And I just
Wow.
get into different world. The world like before the war in Kiev, like it's like 5 days for us, but the, like ages. And here we have like peaceful life. So I had like a glimpse of peaceful life. It was wonderful. And on the second day, I planned to stay there for 5 days. Um, and on the second day, I figured out, because I didn't have any context and I didn't know where I'm going. My next step was to reach the board. you
Yeah.
know, so I was going nowhere. I'm heading west. I was like told to my mom, I am a knight on the horse who is heading west and going into sunset. And there is a title behind. That's it. So I mean, nobody knows where this knight is going. So I was like that, and on the second day, I realized that they start covering the windows of the cathedrals and museums and the statues, because they're trying to protect them in case something happens. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm not here to sit in another bomb shelter. This is not in my plan. And I actually sat in the bomb shelter like for 1 hour because we were having breakfast. And then everybody were like, there is sirens, please go to the bomb shelter in the hotel. And I was like, okay, I don't care about sirens anymore. But to be honest, I would like to see where is the bomb shelter in case. So I get in. It was beautiful conference room basically. So they just transform it into it. I was like, okay, that's a nice thing for bomb shelter. I like it. Fine, that works for me. But I'm not going to sit there anyways. So when I was seeing how much they prepare the city, I was like, okay, my goal is still to sit with computer and provide the information as much as I can. And I provided information like, guys, when you evacuating, please wear the shoes with long, this kind of, you tell me, lace and stuff like
Shoestrings.
that.
The
Yeah,
shoestring.
the shoes which will not fall from your legs. Because when you run, I mean, any cross shoes and you run in shoes, if somebody step on your leg and you leave your shoes in Kiev and you go in West, it's a bad luck, so to say.
Mm,
I was in the army shoes, sort of. It's Dr. Martens kind of shoes, like the big one, black
yeah.
kind of thing. So it's really uncomfortable in a way, but it's really not falling from your legs. And to be honest, when I was like storming with this Indian guys, I was storming that train. I had a few situations when I was very close to lose my bag or to lose my shoes because it's difficult to do it, especially when you're one and you have no support. You're
Yeah.
alone. You are on
And
your
so
own.
many people storming at once.
Many people taking you away. There is a crowd mentality in action. Not only
Oh,
mentality, it's like. So it was really a different story. So I'm telling to people, take the bags which you can wear on yourself. Take the scotch, that tape and stuff like this. Put it all over your shoulder bags and stuff like this because all the plastic elements, they're broken in my bag right now. So it's
mm,
really they don't have that heavy load when somebody is hanging on you along with your bag. These plastic things are not working. So I'm just saying, like, put tape on this, like, protect your bag. I mean, really, it's about battle. So
different
it's about
skills that you need to learn to survive.
in a way, yeah. So just make sure that nothing falls, that you are like slim and you can squeeze and you're strong enough. I don't know. And you have enough resources, most importantly. Understand that you don't supposed to drink a lot of water because you will not be able to leave your bags. And if you want to go alone in a toilet, you will have to go with the big bags. And I mean, it's uncomfortable if you are a woman, especially, you know. So many things like don't
Yeah.
eat much, don't drink much, understand your resources, understand that you have one step at a time. Don't plan that, oh my God, what I will do in that and that country. Reach it first. To reach it
Mm,
first, many small steps. Achieve one step, pat your back, say you good girl, move on. So it's really important to really be organized. Many mothers are shouting on their kids because I don't understand. Moms are in stress, kids are crying, and this is 4, 3 years old kids and they're crying desperately because they're afraid. And the moms are also afraid. And moms are shouting. And I could see the trauma level which is happening on my eyes because
mm,
these whole kids will be traumatized eventually with all this event.
yeah.
And I was like, please don't shout on your kids. It's not a usual situation. Just hug them and they will feel this comfort. Just relax, try to do everything possible to relax yourself. Try to breathe through your stomach slowly so that you are not stressed. And you first make yourself not stressed and then you hug your kid and make them not stressed. It's very important for all the moms. I know that it is a very dangerous situation and everybody are afraid, but they need to do it. It's very important. So yeah, for the
And
next
so,
day, I was yeah
mhm.
back to the story.
You, yes. So when you're in Lviv, I'm
Hmm.
mispronouncing the name, but then how did you decide what to do next? Like, did you find friends? Because now you're in Poland. How did you reach there?
First of all, obviously, Poland is the first country on the west, which is after the border. So chances that I would reach Poland were very high. I wanted to go to UK first because I was invited and many people were waiting for me there. But basically, UK didn't allow us to get in. They only allow refugees with families in UK. So that I found in the train. So I was already in the train. My plans were like, okay, first one gone, next.
So how
Uh,
were you planning to reach UK? Like take a flight from
yeah,
Poland?
in a moment you go through the border, you can take flights because there are no planes right now in Ukraine, of course.
But you need to be
So,
invited or meet the criterias, I would say.
yes, exactly. So I had a few invitations from France. I had a few different invitations because I'm well connected with different business women all around the world. So as I say, the sisterhood, the community is tremendous, and I'm like grateful to every single woman who supported me because like I got people from US with Polish origin who like, provided me shelter and were doing all the transportation connected with their relatives. Like Canada was providing me diaspora. So I had like support of women of all around the world, which is like, I'm trying not to cry because it's really touching, to be honest. And not touching in a cheesy way. It's really, really like powerful sisterhood of women who want to help other women in need. It's really powerful. So, so next, I heard from my designer who worked with me, um, and we knew each other like forever. She's like, I'm in Krakow, and I'm like, okay, thank you, universe. That's my next step. Because when I was 15, I wanted to live in Krakow. I loved the city so much. So it was really my dream. And I mean, when I was 15, but I was like, that's interesting. So it's like be able to listen to the universe. Don't think that don't be in defensive state, open up. So that's what I was doing. So I started listening to this kind of ideas. And for the second day in Lviv, I get to the railway station and I start looking for buses, how they're moving, how to reach the border. The problem was that to reach the border, there was, by the time I reached Lviv, I already figured it out, there was a 30 kilometers traffic jam between the border and
Wow.
Lviv because everybody wanted to evacuate. And if you want to pass the border by walk, you still need to walk 30 kilometers because somehow you need to reach the border. And
Yeah.
like um, road is jumped. So I was wandering 2 days in Lviv, like lost myself in beautiful culture, like peaceful life. Oh, I was like, okay, this is nice. Until I could see they also preparing to war right now. And I was like, well, I cannot stay here because my goal is different. I want to help people with information. And for that, I need just computer and place where I'm not bombed, when I don't have sirens, and I can sleep. That's important for me. I can help many people with this information. So, and I still have business, so I need to run my advertising business so that I can make money and I can help army, I can help my parents. So I'm like, okay, I'm good in earning money, and I would like people like to work with me to get their benefits, right? And I will make money and I will help other people. That was my very simple idea of what I can, what is my talent, and how I can apply it, right? So I went to the bus stop, and in the bus stop, they told me like, yeah, there are three kind of buses. This is how they're moving. This is how they're going. I talked to everybody, and I was like, right. It feels like I have to leave, not on Saturday, but like on Thursday. So I was like, fine. I took my bags early in the morning. I discussed in the hotel. I left the key, and I was like, please keep my room until 12. So in case I will not be able to go, so I can
Yeah.
prolong my stay. So I was like, acting in a few different directions. Like if I miss here, this is what will happen. If I will do this is what will happen. So I was like in a 6 different scenarios, which I calculated. If I will miss the bus, maybe I can try the train. So I mean, whatever. I was these
Yeah.
2 bags now, well rested. My resources were good. Uh, again, I had money, so I didn't have intention to do like a free ride or anything. I believe that there are plenty of people who need free help and things like this. They don't have resources. I have resource. I can pay. So I was not looking for free things for refugees. I was looking for just ability to reach
Yeah.
the border for money. So like, and there are plenty of people who were ready to pay, and there was no options for them as well. So I get there. There were 10 or 20 buses with all big signs refugee. And the drivers were standing nearby. And I was like asking them, do you have any places or how can we reach border? Because they were first people to go through different situations than was before. And they're like, there is no places. The places will be available only for the day after.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, I can't reach anywhere. And I'm like, are there any paid buses here? And they're like, yeah, there are two buses somewhere there. I was like, go there. I'm like, oh, this is good. This is what I'm looking for. So I read the buses and I'm like, are there any places in the bus? They're like, yes. I'm like,
Oh wow.
do you go to the border? They're like, yes. I'm like, how much? They're like, $100. I'm like, do you take dollars? They're like, yes. I'm like, awesome. So I give them dollars. He gives me like change in hryvnias. And I'm like, awesome. Where are we going, by the way? He's like, Krakow. I'm like, okay, that's exactly where I'm going. So that's how I went in Krakow, where I plan to be. But I mean, I bought it first and then I asked her to go.
Yes. And you still didn't know like what are you gonna do in Krakow, right? Like you were planning probably to get a hotel and like you didn't know anyone
Uh,
or you knew.
Krakow? Just, no, I didn't know anyone. I still was a rider on a horse who's going to the sunset. So pretty much it's like many people are like that. Not many, I mean, they don't really know where to go, but there are a lot of volunteers after the border. So Europe is helping tremendously. There are so many people feeding, providing the living, and I mean, it's just tremendous. So I knew that I will not be lost because there are places, there are shelters right now for Ukrainians. So I had options just once you cross the border. But before that, it's a little bit difficult. So once I crossed the border, I was like, we were fed for free. People just come there with food and they're helping, and it's like extremely. We're all extremely grateful for that because, especially for kids, they also on the verge of no resources. It's so powerful. So we all extremely grateful for European people because it's not a political thing. It's people to people help. It's so powerful and so important. People are so united in Poland and they're really trying to help. It's fantastic.
And I saw your post
So
on Facebook. You posted like I like what you said that people are just doing it from their good heart, and we got to
yes,
be nice to each other. And
yeah,
yeah,
it's a heart to heart help, and it's so you can feel it straightforward once you cross the border. Even the people who like put in the stamps and everything, they're very kind, which is not usually happen. That usually it's, crossing the border, it's like very stressful case. In this case, everybody on the side, so it's like really really powerful. Everybody's so wonderful. So
and you
again,
don't need
we
visa for Poland. You can just cross the border with no issues. You have
I
to
don't
have your
need
passport, obviously.
because I'm Ukrainian. President Poroshenko did make the free like entrance without visa for Ukrainians. It was like about 5 years ago, so we don't need visa for Europe. If we travel just as tourists, we can stay in Europe for 3 months legally, but we're not allowed to work. So as tourists, we can stay for 3 months with our biometric passport. But there is a problem that there are many refugees who don't have biometric passport, or they just don't have all documents because they were bombed or something. So right now, people with a normal Ukrainian passport can cross the border and renew their documents in Poland. So they just need to have some sort of document, especially for the kids. They need to have the birth certificate for kids, because plenty of them don't have documents. So this is also possible. So there are a lot of kind of openings for people who don't have option to create a passport right now. So
And
it's
probably for
wonderful.
children, you need like a custody court document if
You
because
need
I'm a
to
single
pretty much
parent,
have
so
a
I
birth
always think about that. But yeah,
birth certificate is enough because right now many people just lost their documents. So they will renew the documents. And for those who are not having biometric passports, there is a different procedure. So they need to go through these community centers to renew their documents and find their identity and everything. So it's possible to do in Poland. For those who have biometric passport as myself, basically you just cross the border and you are legal for 3 months.
and explain a little bit just what biometric passport is. Like we don't need to
Biometric
go in detail.
passport, yeah, this is a passport which has a little digital chip, so it can be scanned, and it has a lot of data about you, including your finger stamps and what is it called?
Fingerprint.
Fingerprints and all this kind of things. So it's a little bit more data than in the average passport, and it
Okay.
can be scanned. So people who have biometric passports, they just have zero problems. They're allowed to be without visa. Those who have the standard passport or local passport, then they will have to go through different procedures to make something similar as biometric passport, I guess.
But once people reach the border, there is help. There's
Yes.
help, and like
There is a lot of help, there is a lot of support. Instantly, you have food. People prepared with a lot of people actually ready to give some place to live. Also, I mean, there was like people from Germany who were on the Polish border waiting for people. So it's like people from small cities, villages, and stuff like that. They are ready to help, and it's wonderful.
so if someone wants to reach Poland and then fly to somewhere else, also there's help. Like they'll take you to the airport or um,
What my there is a preference for people with kids, and there are volunteers. So really it's important to work with volunteers. I was alone, I didn't work with volunteers, but with volunteers, my friend who has kids, she was like supported with volunteers until the border, and then from that area she was supported to the center for refugees, and from that center you can take the transportation to the place you want to go. So it's a little bit longer journey than mine because I mean I was paying. That's why I mean for her it was for free. To me, I was just paying for the ticket to Krakow.
okay. And so when you reached Poland now, what did you do next? What happened?
Again, because I'm super lucky. I mean, I already had several locations where people were willing to invite me because I have friends in Poland or I have people who have relatives in Poland. And one of my amazing Facebook friends, she's extremely talented photographer, creative person. She was like, "Oh, I'm in Krakow. Would you like to stay in my apartment for a few days?" And this is where I am right now. I mean, she's amazing, and I'm like extremely grateful for her help because I wanted to stay in Krakow, and I was like, by the way, yeah, I'm kind of, can I take you over? And she was like, absolutely. So, and we didn't know each other, but I hope now we like each other. So,
Yeah. And we messaged with you um back and forth because I was trying to help you looking for an
yeah.
apartment. And
Hmm.
I have my super in the building is Polish and he had a friend, and I
Hmm.
don't have
Hmm.
many Polish friends, but they told me what you told me, that a lot of there's so many people right now and not enough places, or every
Yes.
Airbnb is booked. So what is the situation right now when you're looking for an
The
apartment?
situation in terms of my situation is solved, but for other people is like really it's a problem and it's a time consuming process because first of all there are no places. So many people from Ukraine just know two cities, Krakow and Warsaw, and they just don't know that there are plenty of other smaller cities where they can actually find living without any problem. They just don't know. So basically, 2 million people immigrated to two cities which were not ready to get them like logistically. So it's a big problem. Luckily, people in the railway they try and like to spread them across different places. So there is a center for the refugees just in Krakow and Galeria Krakowskie. There is a place where refugee can go. They can find the shelter. They're sleeping right there. So, but people from Krakow, they donate in sleeping bags. They donate in food in that
Mm.
place. So there is a spreading centers all across. For the first time when I reached, transportation was free for everybody. I don't know if it is like this for now for Ukrainians. If you have a passport, you can travel for free from one city to another. Um, for the day I reached, every tram in Krakow was free for Ukrainians, so it was good. I think it's not like that right now. I'm not sure, but it's really like everybody welcome you, and it's wonderful, and it's really you can find help, but there is a problem in terms of the language for many people because they don't know neither English, neither Polish, so they just not really know where to look. So there is a, if you will go, I mean, the easiest way if you don't know any language, like you just know Ukrainian or Russian, you please go in these centers, and these centers will provide you with information in Russian, Ukrainian, whatever language you know. And they have the lawyers, they have food shelters, they have free houses, they have everything. So if you don't have resources, you can easily find place to sleep, and they can provide place for kids, especially. They like focusing to provide place for people to sleep.
And you mentioned something about the law that is changing. Can you talk a little bit about that in Poland?
Yeah, this is amazing. This is like laws. I think they take it like in all different countries separately in Euro Union. Like every country decides what they allow for their territory. For Poland, this is specific law which is already passed the lower, how to say, lower parliament. I don't know how it's called in English.
Yeah.
The first level of the same. So it's passed already, and we are waiting for the next level to pass. This law will allow Ukrainian refugees to work for 18 months, and basically our right to stay in Euro Union for the 3 months with our biometric passport will be prolonged for the fact that we will be able to work, we will be able to get our tax payment number and all the necessary formalities, which we only can have if we are Polish people. So basically, this is like coming soon, and this is what we're waiting for. Usually, you can like get this status and understand what has to be done in the area, or if you're in a small city, or there are different kind of um, how to say, different places for each city. Like I think in Krakow is a place where they work with foreigners, so it's not really mayor, but in the smaller cities it's mayor who doing this thing. So what they will do, they will also provide money for those people who host refugees. So they provide, like, for the accommodation about 40 zloty for day, which is like decent amount of money to accommodate someone. So very soon we will be like profitable people to host. So it will be wonderful.
Well,
And
I hope
everybody
that
will be,
will
there
help.
will be a lot of flats will happen, I believe, by that
Yeah,
time.
I hope that inspires a lot more people to help.
Yeah,
Yeah. Does the
I hope
government
so.
provide refugees with financial help at the moment or no?
Um, there is a very important part to understand. There is an old refugee law, and I was talking to 7 different lawyers by now, and they all say the same thing, that don't apply for old refugee, never ever, because this law actually make certain kind of rules, like you're not allowed to work, you only have to live on that small amount which refugee provided, and you have to stay in the free accommodation which is provided by government. And the 6 months you are not allowed to work or open business, nothing like that. So all of them say that this new law, which is going to come to reality, hopefully next week or something. So this new law specifically created for this Ukrainian situation, and it will be very different.
So it's better to now use the resources that volunteers provide, shelters and all that,
Yes,
and wait for the new law
yes,
instead of applying
yes.
for the
They
old.
all said wait for the new law, and it will come into action soon, and then you will be able to do everything whatever is needed.
Okay. And so, what is next for you? I mean, before we talk a little bit about what the situation is now in Ukraine, your parents, your friends. I know you said you have a friend who left behind to volunteer in the hospital, right? Children's hospital.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about that, and then we'll talk about what's next for you. But how is now? How are your parents? What is happening now?
So I'm calling to my parents every day, twice a day. I mean, we are talking like 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening, so pretty much close. Uh, they are fine. They have everything what they need. The shops are open. They were able to get the pension, so somehow the government managed. So everything is like relatively okay. They are very lucky because they have the shelter in their own house, so they can come up, have shower, have whatever they want, have like privacy from shelter, because shelter is difficult, because you just need to share the space with many people, and it's
Yeah.
emotionally difficult. So they sleep in a shelter, and they pretty much stay in a home for the daytime. So they're kind of fine. I mean, as much as you can be fine for the wartime. We are all very worried about the situations with the atomic stations, which Russians right now occupy, and this is the most dangerous thing. So we hope that these terrible orcs will not do any more stupid things, because I mean we can expect anything from them, and that would affect way more countries than only Ukraine, because that's really
Yes.
dangerous. But fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And what
Meanwhile,
about your friends? Your friend that stayed behind. So there are a lot of people that stayed behind to volunteer and just to help.
there are plenty of people who volunteer. Like you were asking about my friend, we were talking about. She is volunteering for the cancer hospitals like for over 13 years. So it's not new for her to become a volunteer. So
Mm.
she cared about the kids with special needs such as autism and stuff like that. So she spent many days with them in that basement. The thing is that they right now evacuated, but still there are plenty of kids in that basement where she is. And she is an illustrator, she's an artist, and she's helping many kids basically like to feel better. And the story which she was shared with me yesterday, they're heartbreaking, because there was a girl who was basically also alive in that cancer hospital, and she died in recently in the bomb shelter. And unfortunately, like she couldn't even like see the sky or anything like that. That's what she was asking, like to take her out to see the sky before she died. So this is
Mm.
heartbreaking. And many of the kids who have cancer, and they kind of have a hope, to probably get a cure. So there is part of them who already don't have a hope, and some of them have. Um, Unfortunately, in this situation of war, they definitely losing their hopes much faster, because they are very fragile. And many of these kids, especially kids with special needs, they cannot be evacuated, because for a normal person, it's difficult to stand somewhere in 8 hours or something. For these kids, they require different conditions, and those conditions are not available.
And it's great that there are people like your friend who stayed behind to volunteer. Otherwise, they'll be on
There
their
are
own.
plenty of people for volunteering who helping with food. I mean, many of my friends who stayed there, they're volunteering, helping elder people, helping animals. Recently, unfortunately, a few days back, a volunteer who was helping animals was shot by Russians because she was bringing supplies for the huge animal shelter. So I mean, it's a dangerous job, because many people, like, volunteers, whatever, they're like not running with guns, but they can be shot, because there are many of Russians who are just shooting innocent people like on a daily basis everywhere.
What is the general mood right now? Is it people are ready to fight, and or it's more um, giving up hope? They're still
No,
hopeful.
Ukrainians are always ready to fight their freedom. They're on the right side, and they will fight until the end, because they're on the right side. And it's like, they don't have enough help, but basically, if the West would close the sky for us, it would be much easier, because we can handle the ground, as they said in army. But it's way more difficult to predict where they will shoot, because they shoot from the territory of Belarus and they shoot from the territory of Russia, and those rockets actually hang into to the cities. And how does it look when the sky is closed by, for example, guys from West, which is that's what we require and bag the most. They could shoot this rocket in the sky, so these rockets actually don't hit the city. So this is what we ask the most. Or if they don't want to participate and they have whatever reasons to not participate to protect the light and things like this, I think, all these reasons are BS, because when the kids are killed and things like this, I don't think some armies need to think twice, because
It's
they are
always the
created to
innocent
protect
people that
people.
suffer. Yeah, the
Yeah,
innocent
but
people suffer.
armies are created to protect people,
Yeah.
right? And not stand and be concerned. So to be honest, this is really, really required to close the sky, or at least give us enough of the new planes and all this kind of things. We can do it like we still protecting all the world by ourselves. It's just we really need more resources and more resources and more resources. Ukraine is a very big country. It's 40 million people, and the humanitarian crisis is the result of humanitarian crisis will be felt like for many years above, because we are ahead. Sorry, we are actually agricultural country. Our main level of produce is a sunflower oil, is wheat, is a lot of different crops. And unlike Russia, which is like a petrol station for the world, they produce nothing but they have petrol. We are actually working hard to produce this crop, because Ukrainians are hardworking people and honest people, unlike orcs. So if right now all these orcs are running on our fields, you understand that we will not be able to put our crops and we will not be able to have our produce, which means economy of Ukraine will suffer way more than the Russian economy from the sanctions. So this is one part. Another thing that the reality is that all this evacuation, Europe is not so big, and these resources, we like admire the courage and like all the help. It's fantastic,
Yeah.
but frankly speaking, if you have 20 millions of people, let's say we will take just 5 millions of people just evacuated from Ukraine, or 10 millions of people, it's humanitarian crisis on such levels that Europe will not be able to handle, because we are good workers. We know how to do our job, and like it's a crisis when we have less a job and no demand for the experts. We will have very high prices on gas. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so many level
It's a
crisis.
ripple effect.
Yes,
It's a
and
huge,
the
like
thing
a
is,
domino effect. Yeah.
exactly. And the thing is that it's good that we are all enthusiastic right now, but this is not a short run. This is a marathon. We need to be prepared. So even these 2 weeks war will have the effect for 5 years. And we all need to be prepared for that, because we exhausted after the COVID. We exhausted after all the things which happened in the last 2 years, you
Yeah.
know. And now we have this, and this is just like a cherry on the pie in a bad way. So this is really when we
When do
have to
you
be ready for that.
think it will end soon?
I
What
hope so.
resolution do you see? What
I
resolution
hope
do you see?
so. You know, I want to get back in my country. I'm not running from the country like to become like a European person or something like this. I have my own business and I work with people all around the world. All I need is internet and shower and probably a mattress. You know, so three good things, right? Internet, computer, mattress, and the toilet and the shower. A little bit more. Yeah, I'm a luxury person. So for that, I mean, I just need to have the ability to use banks. And right now in Ukraine, like for example, everything is working. I didn't close my business. I'm still continuously going to pay my taxes in Ukraine, and it's all fine. I just want to help my country with taxes. But earning money, I would like to have business definitely in a country where I will be sure that this money will reach me, and I'm ready to pay taxes in other country as well. Meanwhile, while this whole crisis ends, so I think like it's a win-win solution because I'm ready to pay taxes in Ukraine as well as in some other country. but and like provide the job for different entrepreneurs, help them with brands. So it's again a win-win solution. I'm earning money, I'm helping businesses, and I'm helping army, and I'm helping people. So it's like everybody wins, and I love to work. But I would like to do it from my own home in Kiev. You know, I would like to get back. I would like to restore my country because it it was on such a level by the time we left. I see right now that we achieved a lot more. While we were inside, we didn't know how much we achieved in this year. You know, it's really, really a lot. And I hope that we will be able quickly to rebuild to the level where we were and probably beyond that. But we need a
Yeah.
lot more help in that. That's the important
Yeah.
part, that people need to be ready. I talk to people all around Europe and they're very much afraid. They're afraid of Putin. They're afraid that Putin will blast them or nuke them or whatever. They believe in propaganda. They believe in many different things. But what I can tell that they need to choose their values. They need to understand that they have to be ready to die for the light. They need to be ready to die for the cause. They need to be ready to understand that the cost of gas is too expensive because it's paid with children's life. And when
Yeah.
people say, "Oh my God, we will have right now more expensive gas," no, guys, you already have very expensive gas. 74 children died in Ukraine for that gas, for that pipeline which Germany wanted to build, and they were like, it's economical solution. Every single political analytic told them, in a moment, the second pipeline for this gas, the northern line, will be finished. Putin will attack Ukraine. They were talking about this for several years while it was built. And Germany were like, it's economical solution. It's just economy, nothing personal. No, guys, it's not like this. And we were talking about this, and every single part of that gas is paid with children's lives. It's very expensive gas, actually. It's just too expensive to buy from Russia anything.
Yeah.
Costly, really. And people just don't see it, but once you tell them and they see this price, they start thinking differently. And I hope that our conversation today will help them to understand it.
I
Though
hope
we were
so. And
planning to be not political.
yes, I hope so. And because many people are not aware, well, not aware, but it's different when somebody, such as yourself, who is personally been through and it's insight, shares their story. And there are a lot of stories, like you said, you left kind of easy,
Yeah.
but there are a lot more people that, or they're still there, they're stuck there, or they, for different reasons, or it's just or they lost someone. You know,
You
it's
know, I can tell that it was easy for me because I was prepared. And it wouldn't be easy for me because if I would lose my own strength or resources like in between, or if I would plan to go to Krakow from Kiev, to be honest, I wouldn't make it.
really, why is that?
Yeah, because if you are in such situation, you need to plan on a very short run, honestly. It's like really what saved me. And many people were asking me, my mom was calling me in the train, and I was like, I reach a train, I get in, I was sitting in that corridor with like 60 Indian people, and I'm sitting like with two bags. And I'm like, next 8 hours, I'm going to sit in this corridor. I have no clue where to leave this bag, something. And this is a moment where you can actually start crying and like get some
Yes,
tantrum or something, because it's really you alone, no one to help. You don't know anyone in this
yeah,
train, and you don't know where you're going. And then my mom calling, and she's like, and you're waiting. One thing, I was waiting. The train start moving. My next step at that moment was like, train have to start moving. That's it. I don't want anything until it moves,
mm,
and then that's my next step. Now it was difficult. If it wouldn't be me, I mean, probably that person would be lost. Probably somebody would be lost on that place when they would go through the nostalgia area of the childhood when they could see the destruction, and
yeah,
they would be lost there and they will get back to the bomb shelter. How
yeah.
many
We're different
people?
people, and yeah, we handle different amounts of or levels of stress, and we have different tolerance.
Yeah. How
and the
many
mental
people
health.
would lose themselves near the train where people were kicked out because, they say, no, there is no place for you, it's just for kids. And you understand, you don't have kids and you are not a kid yourself.
Yeah,
You're like, oops.
yeah. Or
And
even
you
in
know
the
what?
shelter, I'm assuming, like you mentioned, there are people probably they were just losing it and
Yeah, they
not
were. They were.
themselves. Yeah.
There were. And like, imagine this, that there were people, women especially, why I'm talking about this tall shoes, why I'm talking about this scotch, why I'm talking don't take plastic bags and all the strange things with you. It's a different situation, because there are women like this. They're in
Because
that,
we're attached to things. We're attached to things. We worked our
mhm,
life for things, and then you get attached to it. And
and they with huge suitcases because they are like evacuating forever. But this is not the case. This is a different story. So you know there are plenty of women with like short waist jeans who were running with three different bags, just like myself, like a little bit overweight because like okay, this woman was looking like librarian, and I was like, we can run together. She's like, yes. And what she does, she's actually run on the stairs in front of me, then put all her bags, and she stand in front of me, trying to repack. Everybody trying to overcome her, and she low waist jeans, like opening half of her behind. She's uncomfortable. Everybody else is uncomfortable. I mean, I think the jeans can fall in that moment. It's crazy, and like I was running across because at the moment you also think like, do you have to help everybody else? No, you have to prioritize yourself at this moment because this is evacuation. If you have kids, it's first of all your priority, and your kid is your like part of your priority. It's like you have
yeah,
accumulative priority,
yes,
you and kids. So it's like really about thinking with a very narrow focus. And I caught myself on these things like step by step, like, okay, you're going to lose yourself, get back, you know. So it was like that. I was able to lose myself so many times. It was not easy journey. It's just like, I'm a little bit resilient, I guess.
yes, yes. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I know it took hour and a half, but I truly believe that will be helpful for people.
I
And
hope so.
yes, and we absolutely need to help each other. And I know here in America we're so far, and I'm from Eastern Europe, and my heart breaks that I can't physically help, but then I thought to myself, maybe with a show like that, I can help, or the financial help. Of course, everyone can donate, but there are other things that people can do also. Maybe spread resources, or just think creatively how you can help. And
You
I
know,
think people are now can take any help they need.
I think that for now, if people from US want to help, the fastest way is definitely donation because we still have a lot of resources. And if you will think logistically, if you want to send something from US, it will take 3 months. So, I mean, literally money helps at this moment
Yeah.
way more. And I was talking to many people who want to donate or help somehow from US. And I explained them that it sounds like probably cruel for you or something because people like, okay, we can donate. This is the fastest way to do that. And fastest way because first of all, there are many resources here. There are a lot of people who are involved in this volunteering job, and your money can save lives. You can
Yes.
send something eventually, but just consider the logistic. It will take like a lot more time to actually come with. I mean, you need refrigerator for food or something like this.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
like people
financial
from
help
US.
is the best at
Yeah,
the moment because there are
yeah.
children that, I mean, for everyone, it can be used for anything that is needed at the moment.
If you can accommodate refugees, because Canada right now accommodating refugees, if it is possible for you, for anyone in US, that is excellent thing because yes, it will take long time for them to reach. US, but if it is possible, that also will be a great help. Talking to your politicians and also tell them that Ukraine need to close the sky. This is what I heard from many people. We can't do anything about politicians. No, you can, because they care about your vote. You guys remember that you live in democratic country. I have to tell you that the first
Mhm.
ever constitution was created in Ukraine by Philippe Orlik. This constitution was inspired the French Constitution, and the French Constitution inspired American Constitution. So you guys, please remember that you live in
Yeah.
democratic society and talk to your deputies and tell them that you want them to close sky for Ukraine. It is possible, it will work, and if it will not work, don't vote for them next time. you know,
Yeah. And you mentioned, well, Canada, it's accepting refugees. So if does Ukrainian people need visa or anything at the moment? Probably not if they
I
are
think that
accepted by that
there are
country.
plenty of sites which mention exactly what has to be done because I know that, for example, UK right now accepting only people who have family in UK
Yeah.
or people who can find sponsorship. So it's like limited amount of people, but UK is a very small country. Canada is bigger, so they might have different requirements. And basically, for each country, people need to check what is required. It's right now very, very different.
Yes.
I'm trying to stay in Krakow because it's closer to my country and I would like to get back. So, I mean, like, I'm not looking anywhere further. So, I was invited in Canada as well, in many other countries at the moment. So, I'm like, you know,
Okay,
I
that
don't
is
know.
great news. That's another way that people can help besides the
Yeah,
financial help.
yeah,
Okay, great. That's wonderful. Eve, thanks so much for sharing your story and
you're welcome.
good luck to, I mean, I hope this ends very soon.
I
Um,
also hope
yeah.
so.
And
Thank you for the interview.
yeah. And I hope we talk again on a different occasion, much brighter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will share all the links with you, so please comment them like for the donations and things like this.
Yes,
I got
please.
them from UN, so these links are legit and they are all just super, super legit and you all can donate on
Yes. And you can post them directly under this broadcast when you have
that.
a
Okay.
time, when you have a moment, and I'll do the same as well. Thank you
Awesome.
so much.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye for now. Bye.